You know, coming into the session today, we had corn on a 4-day win streak. We had beans, 4-day win streak. We had soy meal contracts, 5-day win streak. We had oats and rice, 4-day win streak. Any of them in positive territory? Let's start with this one. It's one that's been higher for 4 straight sessions. Look, there's some green in there for rice. You know, this rice market is even with where it was 12 months ago, but it's had a pretty good run over the past month, up 13%. How about oats? Oats have really been on fire this week, gaining about 12%. And we're mostly higher right now. And the canola market has gained about 7% year over year, but we're lower again. Canola has been under pressure here this week. That may be all the green we see on the screen. Let's work our way through the cotton market. Deep losses here, down 258, 83.88. Talked to a trader. She said she would be trading all night long on this market that hit 87.12 before falling to the mid 83 cent level. How about the wheat market here? Chicago, soft red, July, 664, down 11.5. Hard red, down 14.25, 710.5. How about soybeans and the November contract, 22.5 lower. 11.85. We've erased all of the 12 handles that we had. And how about corn? Before we get to our next guest, $4.94. Bye-bye $5. It's down 9 cents. What a way to welcome in Brady Huck, EmpowerAg Trading. I did find just some green in there, but for the most part, we're seeing a sell-off here today. What's happening?
Right, you had to dig pretty deep to find some of that green, but I love talking about rough rice and just saying rough rice. That's fun, but I know nothing about rough rice, so I'm going to avoid talking about that. This classic, you got to feed the bull every day. Right now, we've got more sellers than buyers in your grain markets, and when you have funds that are long and have built a long position, it's natural that next move is either going to be continuing to add to their length, or they're going to liquidate some of that position, and that's exactly what we're seeing today. Most of that under pressure with the U.S.-China summit going on and just a lack of a bullish headline coming out of that meeting thus far. So we'll see what develops and continues to develop, but sometimes when you don't have bullish news, Tony, it's actually just kind of bearish.
Yeah. Okay. I want to look at a couple of charts here because I think it's important to just step back and see where we've been, kind of where we've been in the last few days and where we are right now. The corn is a pretty good place to start. This is the 6-month on that new crop December corn. We were stuck in that tight range until we got the January WASDE report where we fell off the cliff and then suddenly found our way working back higher. And then looking here at the beans, kind of the same story here. Is it important to remember that over the last 6 months, beans, even with this pullback, are up 71 cents?
Right. You still got some good opportunities out there. You know, just because you got red on the board, it's really hard to go sell a market when it's down 20, 30 cents. But, you know, we've had a nice run for the last few months since the first of the year in a lot of these markets. And that presents, you know, we've still got some opportunities here. You got to remember where your crop insurance floor is at and where this market is and manage that gap between. Going forward, Tony, the trade's going to continue watching the headlines out of the U.S.-China summit here going on. We're going to continue watching energy markets and weather, and not just in the U.S., but also in the southern hemisphere, looking at that Brazil safrinha corn crop down there.
All right, Brady, quick break here. We're back with more markets on Market Day Report. Let's talk cash trade. 260, and we started that back on Monday, worked our way through Tuesday, and how about Wednesday? Can you say 265? Yeah, both in the north and the south. Packers really having to pay up this week. Dressed at 410, live cattle futures. $1.32 higher on that June at 254. Even if you round that up to 255, we're $10 away from where we're trading cash right now. Obviously, the June's got a month and a half before it expires, so a lot can happen, especially in these cattle markets before then. But just interesting to see a $10 premium on the cash side, on the basis, if you will. All right, here on the feeder side, May contract, $369.40. It's up 207, $1.67 higher on the August, $362.40. These feeder contracts are moving a little slower than live cattle, and that's usually it's the feeders that are the leaders. Hog market, lower across the board. Got Brady Huck, our resident rough rice expert, but let's talk cattle here for a moment. We do have a disconnect right now between the cash and that live cattle. Who's going to win this tug of war?
It's always good to see cash leading the way, leading the charge, and jumps in cash early in the week are great to see. Packers pushing bids early and then continuing to push bids midweek. 265 cash is fantastic to see. So cash leading the way is great. We started the week, though, pretty dramatic fashion, though. Threats to remove the tariff rate quota on imported beef pressured cattle markets earlier this week. This lack of signing, or the sudden halt to signing that executive order on pushback from the cattle industry, though, brought a little stability to the market here. And then we've got the hot cash to finish us out here at the end of the week. As we wrap up, though, opportunities in China. We could have a complete 180 this week, where we started the week with negative news, and are we going to end the week with positive news? Now, prices make beef pretty uncompetitive going into China, but we all know beef tastes great, and maybe there's a deal there. I think the renewal of some of the licenses for U.S. beef importers into China would be a big win for us going forward here the rest of the week.
Yeah, good point. Hey, I had a chance as we wrap up here. BMO has an ag event going on in New York City. Donnie King is president and CEO of Tyson. He sat up on the stage and kind of outlined where the company is. Kind of interesting when you talk about month after month after month and quarter after quarter of losses in that packer. And you might think, hey, if I were in their shoes, I'd get out of this business. But he outlined why they're in it for the long haul and some of the changes that they've made. I thought that was very encouraging, though we sometimes want to look at the packer in a negative light. Very interesting to see some of the things they're doing right now on the packer side, trying to prepare for down the road. Anyway, final thoughts here before we break out of the huddle.
Well, whatever segment of the industry you're in, diversity, to that point, diversity is a great thing to have. So they're not always there. These markets are cyclical. Beef market's not always a winner. Right now it's a winner, and things change over time. So diversity is king, and it's good to see big business leaders like Tyson there highlighting that.
Yeah. We'll have more from that event coming up a little later today. Always great to see you, Brady, the rough rice expert.